Hi, my name is Taiwo. I will be demonstrating how you can use Jenkins as an integration uh, tool for CI/CD, that's continuous integration, continuous delivery deployment, um, for use with software development or any other application that is used within the software development cycle or the DevOps. So to demonstrate what we're going to do, um, I'm just going to show a diagram of what we are going to set to our objectives are. So we are going to do an upstream, downstream CI/CD in Jenkins, and we are going to have three phases or three stages that we are going to build, and that is the build. We have the test as well as the deploy. So from the build, we are going to is going to transition to the test and then the deploy. So downstream is going to be from build to test. Downstream from test is deploy. Upstream is the test, and upstream from test is the build. So this forms the circle, what you can also refer to as the continuous integration, continuous deployment process within software lifecycle, especially with DevOps. So the steps that we're going to look at, the stages, we have the build stage, the test stage, and the deploy. So simply what we're going to do is the code is going to do an echo. That's just to display um, the word building, and for the test, the word testing, and for the stage, deploying. So that is the process that we're going to go through. All right, so we straight away we go to our profile to check what we have installed. So we have some dependencies that needs to be installed before we can carry out our project. And the first thing we need to check is that we have Maven installed. Maven is one of the tools that is used for integration and just checking. So we have a version of Maven installed on our application. Then another application that we're going to require is Java. Java is the platform Jenkins on which Jenkins run. So we also have Java installed. Another application that we will look into is Git. We're going to look at Git, and we also have Git installed on our machine. All right, so we have the required tools. So let's go in and see how we can deploy integration. So let's go to a browser, and I have Jenkins installed on my browser localhost 8084. That is where I have Jenkins installed on my browser. So I have the username and the password, and I go in, log in. All right, so this is my Jenkins, and we have the display. This is the dashboard, and it shows a list of applications that I've run before. And so one of the first things we need to do in building the application, we are going to look at starting, and then we're going to do a new item. So for the new item, we enter the name of the project, and here we're going to do a stage build. That is what we're going to call a stage build, and we're going to run it as a freestyle project. There are different options here. If you are having a pipeline, That is when you have a series of projects that you can run continuously, similar to what we're doing. But here I want to specify three different stages of the project and link them up one after the other. So we can have multi-configuration pipelines where we have different projects from different platforms that are going to work together. Then we have where we have a folder. So this is a nested folder. This means it contains already pre-planned programs that you are set to run. And then we have the multi-branch pipeline. This also brings from different branches within our source code management repository. That is, we have different arms of the project in different places, and we've set them up so that they can run concurrently or independently, and they'll be built in a predetermined sequence. Then we also have the foundational organization folder where we have different branches of programs or applications that are going to be run already segmented into different folders and they're clicked to run. So that is our initial build, and then we do an OK, and from there it will look at some other things. So here we have the general we are under the stage build. We are looking at the configuration. So we can put in a description here. Both of these are useful, but we are not going to be addressing them. Then we are not working directly from a Git. So we have the source code management. We are not working from Git, but I will elaborate a little bit on this. And then we have our build environment, and this talks about delete workspace before the start, timestamp. These are conditions and parameters that can be set when you are trying to run your build. And we have our build steps. So what we're going to do here, we're going to use this is the build step. So we are going to use Windows executable. So here we're just going to say we want to run a particular application, a particular code. So we put in echo, then we'll do the word building. Okay, so we have the word building. Then we will save this. All right, so we have the first stage, which is building. So we can go back to build to our dashboard, and we'll build the next stage, which is testing. So we go again, new, and we now do a stage tests. So this is our test stage. Again, we want a pipeline, and unlike the other time, we can copy from, and this allows us to replicate an initial stage. So we can do instead of putting in another especially if you are having the same structure as the first stage, second stage, or third stage. So we do a stage build, and then we do an OK. Moving to we are right now under stage test stage configuration. We will need to change a few things just to make things a bit easier. So here we'll say build after other projects are built. That means we are indicating here that once a particular stage has been built, go to the next stage. So it's a trigger. When you say a trigger, it means that the second project will start after the first one has run. So it will be dependent on the first one running before the second one runs. So that's why we say build trigger. So then we say which project are we to look out for, and that is the stage build. Stage build. So this means that once the stage build has been completed successfully, and here we say trigger only if build is stable. So once this build is stable, then the stage build is successful, then you can go ahead and build the second stage, which is testing stage. All right, so that is okay there. So here you can see it has brought up the previous code for the building. So here we are doing stage testing. So it will do a test, and then we can apply and we can save. If we look back at the stage here, we are under stage test. We see upstream project that is saying, as we showed earlier, that we have a project which is upstream. Okay, so from test, we will see that the upstream is built, which we are demonstrating here. For the upstream is state build. Okay, if we go to the build stage, we will see that the downstream is build state test. All right, and again we can see that from here. From build, the downstream is build state test. That means from here it flows downwards to test, and from test it flows upwards to build. So this is a continuous process that will keep running for each time a build is initiated here. Once it's stable, it will go to the test, and from the test is stable, it will go back to the build. All right, so we've done that. So the next stage we need to do is we build the third stage, a new item, and this will be our stage deploy. All right, we also do as a freestyle project, and we come down here and we specify for copy form, and we'll do a copy form stage test. Okay, so we're saying replicate the same configuration that you have at stage test. All right, so once that is done, we will come down again. We'll look at stage to watch out from here. The stage that we need to watch out from here will be stage test. Trigger if the build is successful, and the echo that we are looking to push out here is deploying. Okay, so we do a save, and so here you can see from the stage test, this is a stage deploy. So the upstream from deploy, it will be stage test. From deploy, the upstream will be stage test. Okay, if we go back to stage test, we'll notice that with stage test, it has an upstream, which is stage build, and a downstream, which is stage deploy. So we've been able to identify from here stage build, downstream is stage test, downstream from test is deploy, upstream is test, and upstream from test is build. So we've been able to accomplish a continuous integration, continuous deployment process. So whatever is put into the code at each stage, it will run. So let's go back to our stage build, and we will say build now. So you will see here, because it has already concluded, because the fact that we are just echoing out some words, it did not take as much time. So the output here, building a system, so it says echo building, and that is the result. It will check on, and it says success. If we check state test. Okay, so state test, and then we'll have the output. Okay, yes, so we'll have the output as stage. Let's go back to our state test. So this will show what we have in terms of from the build and the conclusion. So stage build, we look at stage test, and we will see what we have as a result of the output. So we have a stage build, a deploy, and we have a stage test. So this shows a successful. That means we are able to build on our project from stage build to test and to deploy. All right, to show a little bit of what we can do within our Git. So we can do a new echo. So we can enter a random here. We can just say git build, just to demonstrate what we can do within the within the Jenkins on build. So here we can, if we choose our source code management from Git, here we'll be asked to put in the Git repository. So if I go to my network here, let me see if I can access my Git. So www.git login to my Git. This is not what I'm looking for. Okay, yeah. Sign into my Git. All right, so this is my Git repository, and if I check my repository for any of the file that I have here, let me check here. Okay. All right, good. So if I choose this Git DevOps, so what I can do is I can pick this is the repository, for the GitHub that I have. So I will copy this, go back to my new file, a GitHub file. Let me do that again. And project freestyle. Okay. All right. So I choose Git from here. So this is where I would paste the URL, the address, and it is required that you put in credentials. So unless this is a public, if it's a private, you need to put in credentials. Then this specifies the master branch from which the Git is built. So you can see here is the main. I have here as main. So but we can choose to have a master branch here. Mine is called main. So if you're going to run the application here, it should be main and not master. Okay, so that will specify. So essentially what this does is that it will pull whatever code is existing in that URL, in that repository, and then it will run it similar to the same way we had the application that we had here previously with the build and the build, test, and deploy, and it will run it. So if you're working with maybe a software development team, usually you will have like a repository where everybody will push their codes into those repository, and once it has like a trigger set, that once you see a new build being uploaded into the repository, it will run the code again, similar to what we just did, the build and test and deploy. So it will run once a new code has been committed into the repository, it will be triggered. It will be triggered at the build. Then once the code has been completed, if it's stable or you just if not, it will, or depending on the trigger that has been set, it will also do a test to see if it means the requirements that have been set out within the test. And once the test is successful, it has met the requirement, then it will be deployed. All right. So if at any stage there are any issues within the deployment, maybe for some reason it's not working on a particular software or version of software, it will be sent back up for the testing. And if it goes passes the test stage, it will be sent out to be deployed. But if it does not meet the requirements again, it will go up to the build and notify the software developers and people involved that there's an issue with this code. Then they will look at doing a rebuild on it, and then once they've done the build, it will be committed back as a source code, then sent to test again once it meets the requirements, and then it will be deployed again. So that is how we can use continuous integration, continuous development in Jenkins to be able to do software development and to test, to build software, to test it, and to deploy it into the production environment for use. So this has been a short uh, presentation on CI/CD within the upstream downstream project and how it can be used for software development and software deployment and testing. Thank you. Bye.